Well, welcome everybody to the Voyage to Vitality channel special event, Self Healing through V.I.B.E. I am Laura Cross, the host of Mindful Mondays and your host for this enlightening event. And today I am joined by this wonderful panel of experts that all specialize in self healing. And we are here to discover how to unlock your body's innate ability to heal and transform through the power of vibration, intention, breath, and energy. So, everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. Greatly appreciate you guys. Before we get started, I'm just going to go across the board here. I know we have Dr. Grant from the Academy of Wellness. We have Dr. Erica Buchholz, Becoming Playfully, Natan, and he's an energy coach and creative allure. And then we have Brian Muka, yes, Invincibility. And then we have Robert Teterow, all the way from the Netherlands. So we've got people from around the world, and Robert is Mana Life Source. So I think we're all going to be able to bring a unique perspective to this. So I wanted to start let's start with vibration. The concepts of vibration and frequency, they influence our emotional and physical well-being all the time. So what particular steps would you say that we can take to raise our personal vibration? Dr. Grant, do you want to start?
Sure. Everything in life is vibration and energy, according to Albert Einstein, EM equal mc square. So when we actually look at somebody, we can say this person have high energy, high vibration. They have high enthusiasm, and the word enthusiasm comes from the Latin word called in theos, is from within God. You cannot wake up one Monday morning or you say, I just want to be today enthusiastic. You cannot do that. It's just either within you or you don't have it. So I fully believe that vibration and energy is everything we should tune in for self healing. And that's why we do the inner voice virtual voice scan or voice vibration to detect and correct lifestyle issues. If everybody correct and detect lifestyle issues, we would not need medications, operation, radiation, amputation, or any complications. That's what I believe in. I'm 75 years young and I look younger, thanks very much, because I practice what I preach. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Grant. And Dr. Eric, I know you have a different take on that, but I mean, they're all important. So, but I love your thing because actually it ties into something Dr. Grant says. But go ahead and tell people how you help others to raise their vibration.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Dr. Grant, thank you. That's so powerful, right? Like you have something you can do to make changes in your life. And I come from the side of laughter. Laughter is actually something you can turn on immediately. Like you can just choose to start laughing. Ha 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 ha. Right? Like you can just do it. And you can start by being like, oh my gosh, I feel so low. My vibration is low. Everything feels low. And then you can choose to intentionally laugh. And through the process, you can raise, you can
Yeah,
find energy, you can generate energy. So that's my kind of take on it. As much as you can add some playfulness to it, will help you to lift up and to raise.
absolutely.
Yeah. And Natan, do it,
My goodness,
Natan.
I'm so fascinated by hearing everybody else. I forgot the darn question.
I know you. I know you're an energy coach and stuff. So we're talking about how people can raise their vibration. We all have a different way about doing it. So,
Hmm.
what would you like to share with people about a good way for them to raise their vibration and why that's important?
Think about what turns you on. Think about if the hairs on your hand aren't standing on edge when you're speaking, you're not turning yourself on. How on earth are you going to turn on the person that you're talking to? In a completely platonic, non sexual way, turn on is an energetic term, not a sexual term. So when I turn on and I'm vibrating at a frequency of abundance, and I can sense that somebody else does as well, you can, like Dr. Erica, you can turn on immediately.
Yeah. And that is so true. I don't think a lot of people necessarily pay quite a bit of attention to that, but maybe you've noticed when you go places where you may be kind of vibrating high, but if other people aren't, then you kind of feel a disconnect or like you either need to go somewhere else. Sometimes you can help them raise that, but Otherwise, I think it winds up being the opposite. You're actually kind of
That's energetically taxing to do. You
yeah,
know, if you constantly, like if you're somebody who works with people in clinical depression, God bless you, I energetically can't handle that. I vibrate at such a high frequency that it would bother me. And in all honesty, I wouldn't be able to raise them up much, right? Like, let's say I vibrated an 8 out of 10, and
mhm.
they're down in the dumps at a 2 out of 10. What am I going to bring them up to? A 5? Meanwhile, I brought my 9 down to a freaking 5. Oh my, like I suck now. And my world is like, ugh. So energetically, you have to align yourself and pick and choose where you work and who you work with. Because if you're not looking at impact, if you're just trying to blanket everything, some things will have a bit, some things will have a lot, some things will be like, holy crap, life changing.
Yeah. So it sounds like you definitely need to set some good boundaries for yourself then too.
I would, yeah.
Brian, how about you? I know you're like a master of inner peace and you have been on all sides of that. So, what is your take on vibration?
Oh, Brian, we
Oh,
can't hear you for some reason.
did we lose you? Oh,
Communicating via my heart channel. You guys can't hear that?
nope, we can now.
You actually want me to use my
Oh,
words. I
sorry.
understand
Do
now.
the vocal thing, do
I
the
was
verbal thing.
trying to do the Professor X thing. What stands out most in my mind? All roads lead to Rome, and so I love in Theos. That resonates deeply with my practice of how do I raise my energetic vibrations to remember there is latent quantum energy only everywhere, and all I have to do is say no to the illusion that I'm separate from it. I'm a sailor. And so, much like, catching the wind, laughter is a fantastic way to do that. Natan is skilled in energy practices that will take a long time for me to master. And I guess my contribution to that is in addition to raising energy, which we all have our modalities for, and every person, if I may talk to your audience, Laura,
Absolutely.
that you have your own way of raising your energy. And so the experiment of like what makes you feel higher is going to be different than what makes me higher. And I think the conversation I'd like to have is, what are the principles of raising energy? My way is different than your way, and thank God, right? I think what I'm an expert in is how to release the energy leakages, right? So think about a car. Everything we've talked about so far is the gas pedal. It's awesome, right? Um,
Hmm.
what's the brake? What's the internal friction in the watch, right? I'm really good at identifying what the subconscious dramas are around energy leakage. Is it fear? Is it worry? Is it shame? Is it guilt? Is it the minions of fear? Is it the people that I'm hanging out with? And Tom, that was a great point. Who am I hanging out with? Because environment trumps motivation every day of the week and twice on Sunday, right? So I can control my environment sometimes, but I can always control my inner environment and the stories around why do I feel the way that I feel, right? So just for an example, we can get into this more later. When I feel down, to be more accurate in that is like I'm peaceful. Like how do I know the difference between peaceful and tired? It's a difference of a story. The difference between anxious and excited. It's the story, right? So I guess I'm a master story crafter and a brakeman, right? So the thing with a sports car, got to have a big engine, got to know how to use the brakes and how to also then turn off the brakes. And then my little addition to the gas pedal side is posture. If I'm in a closed posture, I'm in my cave. I'm in my prison. And then when I can remember that my bones are actually my antenna to connect into the place where all of the art and the epiphanies live, kind of cheating or coming back to what the world would like me to forget. So posture's my answer and turn the brakes off.
Yeah. And that's a very good point. And it does have a lot to do with it. And that's why I love all you guys, because I knew we would have different perspectives and be able to go into this. Robert, you are up.
Very good, very good. I have very good perspective. Far Eastern perspective. I First of all, I tell people to stop doing that is not working for them in their lives. right?
Mhm.
Because that's what's draining your energy. Stop doing what is not working. The second thing is get away from people that have low vibrational energy that do nothing other than suck your energy. Don't do that either. And the third thing that I would advise everybody to do is use breath work, conscious energy breathing, because that is just the fast route to releasing anything that's holding you back on a frequential level, all the negative things on the physical, the emotional, and the mental levels, and it'll bring everything back into alignment without having to necessarily dig into your past and figure out exactly what all these things are. We don't have to go there. What I do look at is what are the specific decisions you made on the basis of specific experiences that are still governing your life now. So, one fun thing I do in my shamanic retreats, I put everybody in a dark room, okay? And I have a couple of people walk in there and embody anger, and everybody has to walk around. And after a while, I'll turn on the light, and what do you suppose you'll see? Everybody has moved as far away possible from those two people that came in angry. Because you can sense that. It's a normal thing, but we've lost that capacity because we're so involved in our own universe, right? Gravitating in our own world. So, and one more thing that I love to just mention, my son gets that, right? He's 9 years old. He said, "You need some energy, Daddy." I said, "Yeah, yeah, of course." So he scoops up energy, and then he says, "Where do you want it? Where do you want it? Go ahead, put it on my crown chakra." They get it. Children play. They love it. They're so full of energy. They need to whirl and twirl, and because they're just so full of energy.
I love that. And you brought up a really good point is stuff when you have people that are draining your energy, you need to separate yourself from that. But not everybody, most of us, I believe almost all of us on here are working for ourselves and working from home. So we have a really good control of our environment. But there are others out there that are working a 9 to 5 job and they're stuck in that environment. Maybe they don't have something right away. What would you recommend to people that are in that environment of how they can help create like their own bubble and protect their own space and keep their own vibrations up without getting dragged down?
Well, you don't need a bubble. That's
Yeah.
that's my perspective.
Okay.
Right.
When
And
you own your space, you walk in there with that high energy. Um, people around you start automatically, gearing up their energy as well.
I love
Brian? Yeah.
I love that point. And so I spent some time in the special operations community in the Navy. And so a panicky person is contagious, right? So is the most calm person, right? So I sought always to train at a level harder than what I would encounter because and when crap hits the fan, find the calmest person in the room because they are the most prepared, right? And so, Laura, even in your question, you said stuck. The people that are stuck will continue to be stuck because that is the story that I've created to explain the events, right? It could also be maybe I'm in this environment right now to cultivate my inner garden to then manifest the outer garden, the cause being my inner state to then the outer state. And so I always have freedom of that, even if I forget it. That's the Neville Goddard law of assumption. And
Correct.
what I assume to be true in the inner will then be manifested on the outside. I'm finding.
Yeah. And that's a good point. And I knew if I messed up my words, because Brian is really good at turning
No,
turning those bad words into something else. So I
you
knew you.
can't get it wrong,
No.
Laura.
Yeah.
Right? And like it happened on purpose, like by divine design to highlight this particular point.
Yeah.
So thank you for creating a space for some learning.
Yeah, no, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to share that, because I meet with people on a regular basis, as I know a lot of you do, and that is something that we hear from a lot of people, is that they're stuck or they don't have another option, and it takes a toll. It's taken a toll on their health, their well-being, everything.
Laura,
So,
can I speak to what Brian just said for a
yeah,
second?
absolutely.
I love that the nervous, frantic energy is obviously contagious. Needless to say, on the other side, the calm, poised, confident energy is also contagious. That's why Tony Robbins events work. Otherwise, that would be silly, and people wouldn't pay tens of thousands of dollars to come and get rah rah rah. That has to work. So it works on both sides equally. I look at it as light and darkness. So if you're coming into a bright room filled with light, and you've got a little pocket of darkness, what the heck is that going to do? It's adorable. It's nothing. Imagine you went into a completely dark room with a little pocket of light. That's epic. A little bit of light in a dark room is fundamentally different than a little bit of darkness in a bright room. And
Nice.
that's where I love where he's coming from, because both sides are absolutely available and equal to us.
I
Yeah.
I love that. I've never heard it described in that way, but I am leaving with that. So thank you both for these gifts, right? I think back to when I was in the 9 to 5 in an environment that I was actively trying to control, and something else was occurring, right? So all I had to do, like all that was possible, was to come up with some rituals for myself to do the best that I could with what I had in the time, right? I needed a bracelet that said this too shall pass, right? I needed to go out during the lunch break, sit in the car and watch adorable little animal videos. Like I needed to actively take steps because this was before I even knew what thought work was. I lived a significant portion of my life not knowing you could change your thoughts. I thought
Mm.
thoughts with that's what I'm okay, here it is. I feel bad. I must be feeling bad for a reason. I didn't know you could change that. So before I learned all that, I had to rely on trying my best doing the superhero poses in the bathroom before important meetings, like talking to people who were really kind when I was feeling so lost and so like anxious. So I think it's so interesting where you're at, that there is something you can always do. It's just finding what works for you in that moment. So I
Hmm.
love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Grant, did you want to weigh in?
Sure. Scientifically, as Dr. Erica was talking about here, to raise the vibration, to raise your energy, laughter is the key, because laughter actually increases something in the brain called endorphins. I know very little thing about endorphins. I only have three doctor degrees. I'm actually the first scientist to isolate endorphins in 1981, before all of you were born. But when you raise endorphins through exercise and deep breathing and laughter, that's all it takes. It just laugh and then exercise 50 minutes, 60 minutes a day. You can raise your endorphin, because endorphins actually reduces pain. But endorphins stimulates dopamine, serotonin, GABA. I'm not going to get into scientific aspect of the brain neurotransmitter, but it reduces stress. Stress is the key here. You have a poor lifestyle. That's why we have stress eating, stress breathing, as Robert was talking about deep breathing here in his retreats. We have to learn how to do the deep belly breath every hour. I know, Laura, you and I talk about this for every client, and 95% of my 40,000 clients breathe from the chest. Well, I tell them the chest has the rib cage, does not expand. Breathe from the belly. Yoga breathing, diaphragm breathing, you can call it anything you want, but this is will increase endorphins, will increase your vibration. You can go to 11 hertz frequency when you do the belly breathing and exercise. And that's the key. As Dr. Erica was saying, laughter is the key, breathing is the key, as Robert was talking about, and as Nathan was talking about also. You can control that. It's all in our hands. Look at any baby and watch them how they breathe. Any baby under 2 years, they breathe from the belly. As soon as they turn into toddler, they start to go to chest breathing, breathing from the chest, which has the rib cage, does not expand. Why don't we teach adults now how to breathe from the belly? 5 to 10 belly breath every hour. That's the key for high energy, high vibration, and that is really the scientific explanation for this.
Nice. And I know we've had our. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Brian. Go ahead. And
That is the darndest thing with his audio, eh?
I have no idea.
It must be
You're
important.
testing us
There's
on
like
our
a
own
10-second
vibrations and
delay.
intuition
That
here, I
is
see.
neat.
Right on. Thank you for your patience and grace. Dr. George, in that, I realize that my work with energy and breath and Tai Chi Gong and visualization, it's only 5% of the equation. And so you just brought up an incredibly valuable point in that, like on the hour, my Garmin goes off on the hour, and I have two things. So I take 6 breaths, 3 for me, 3 to triangulate to the world. And I ask this question: am I in flow or am I forcing? And so the more often I can check in, which part of that power or force curve am I in, the better. Because ultimately, what I want to do is reprogram my subconscious mind, the other 95%, but I can only do that with phase repetition, right? So the belly breath is the default. So when you're at 5,000 feet below the mountains of Mexico and the parachute hasn't opened yet, the belly breath can save your life. It saved mine, but I couldn't think to belly breathe. It was already embedded into my response procedure, right? And so one of the points I wanted to make before is to Natan's point around if we're all light with a little adorable pocket of darkness, that was adorable, and I'm going to remember that forever. But the game is the amnesia around that we forget that we're light. And so how many times do I have to forget before I can remember? I may not remember. Natan might. Laura might remind me, right? But what is my procedure to get out of the crashed helicopter?
Yeah.
Right. So for me, it's I use the gun, right? So people on social media in this this crisis, both opportunity and chaos, people are shooting the reaction guns. What if I can point the gun to breathe and then get into my heart for gratitude? 2 steps, and I've already raised my vibration to 500 from 75, right? So I already know what I'm going to do when I've been hijacked. Anyway, I don't know if that's relevant. That's where
Oh,
my head was.
absolutely. It is
Yeah.
absolutely relevant. Thank you. Yeah.
I
And I
think
was
it's
going to say, and I'm
relevant
sure
on
Now I got to buy a gun.
Natan's got probably something to say as well. But I was going to say, Robert, I know we've had a few calls with Robert, and we're always talking about belly breathing. And even though we have his clients and he works with them with breath work, they don't always belly breathe. But you work with people for a little bit of a different reason for breath work. About you were talking about unblocking emotions and stuff. Do you want to talk about that? How you use breath work for that?
Yeah, and what I do there, I do differentiate because there are many, many forms of breathing. For instance, when it comes to really raising energy, the tantric breath together with a partner just raises your frequency to enormous levels. Uh, when I work with them doing conscious energy breathing, I'm actually having them breathe into the chest area. Because what we really want to do is we want to open up the heart chakra again. Because the heart chakra is the furnace which brings the higher energies and the lower energies together and burns. And we know scientifically that if we were to really come back into our heart is an oscillator. That which I seek is seeking me already. I don't need to do anything in the outside world. It's the heart math science that says, no, you will attract it onto you. So important. And the other issue is, yes, absolutely. Then I do a cat meditation that I have people breathe down into the belly to stay grounded for blood circulation, oxygen in the brain. That is important. Absolutely, absolutely. But
Yeah,
you know,
and
in all most disciplines, they always talk about the Trinity. You know, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, uh, body, mind, spirit. But what happened to the heart? Well, religion took care of that. No, 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 no. Don't desire anything at all. Once you pass over, then in heaven you will be granted everything you wanted. You know how the prayer says. You know, we need to create the energy here to fulfill everything that we were meant to fulfill here on this earth plane.
Yeah.
And we need the energy to do that, to stay healthy, right?
Yep. And I was going to say you would
Yeah.
think breath and breathing just sounds so easy, but there are actually multiple ways that people can do breath and breath work. I've met people that do a 3 and 3,
Yeah.
deep belly breathing. Some people call it yoga breathing. There's so many different variations of it.
Yeah.
So, Natan, what is your experience with that, or do you practice any of those, or do you have a particular type you practice?
I do. I'm blessed enough. Like you're looking at cultures from India that are coming back thousands of years of breath work, and the ability to breathe in one nostril, circulate in one area of the body for a specific purpose, then the other. There's so much depth to it. Where other people are like, all right, take a deep breath in, close your eyes, and let's begin. I'm like, whoa, whoa, hold on. I'm like, there was so much, there was a lot going on in that first part, and it's about that ability to go deeper dive and into that context. So in that, I loved your standard box breath, your 4-4-4, in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4, repeat. 4-7-8 is interesting because it messes with the parasympathetic services. So now all of a sudden you're like, ooh, dopamine rush, everything's relaxed, you feel calm and poised. You're like, okay, very different than if we're hitting a cortisone reaction and all of a sudden everything's going freaking out and fight and flight. And so it's right there and it's just so subtly different. But in that same context, 30 years ago, back when I started with Cirque du Soleil, Olympians, national sports teams, one of the cool things that I was able to kind of formulate was if everyone's doing all this breath work, I needed to be part of a biofeedback mechanism. So I need to know that if you're hyper and freaking out and you do this exercise, it's going to work for you. And if you're just calm, cool, and meditating, and you do this exercise, it's going to work for you. And I figured the only possible way to do that is if you literally were in tap with your pulse. And so my biofeedback breathing exercise is find your pulse, and we synchronize your pulse with inhales, holds, exhales, holds. And if we do the same 4-4-4-4, now all of a sudden it's bum bum, bum bum, hold, bum bum. And I know exactly how long to hold because a lot of people are like, how long do I hold? I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, everybody's different. Are you freaking out right now? Then you're going to hold real quick. If you're calm and chilled, you're going to hold for a long time. Like, it's different. So then I was like, if you could just time your pulse, then it's you figuring out how long you need to hold, not me, you. So it's a biofeedback breathing exercise. It's one of the pillars of where I play with on energy.
Nice, nice. Natana, I don't know if you can. Your mic got a little bit low, so I don't know if you are
Oh,
able to turn your mic up a little bit. I didn't want to interrupt
is
you.
that better?
There you go. Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. I could still hear you, but you were getting low. But
No
thank
worries.
you.
Thanks.
And I've never even heard of that, but I like that strategy. That's something I'm going to have to practice myself and keep in mind. Dr. Erica, how about you?
Yeah, I think the very first time I came across breath work was when I learned what laughter yoga was, right? This intentional laughter. And the laughter part is great and it's my favorite, right? And there's the whole second part of laughter yoga, which is the yoga deep breathing piece. Through training, I realized I never fully exhale, right? There's something about feeling like tight and tense. I've got to get right. Everything has to be perfect and productive and everything that I never, ever fully exhaled. So we learned breathe in, giggle it out. Ha 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 ha. And that was the first time I released all the air. And then you have to breathe big to come back. And I would get lightheaded and like, what is going on? Like, it was the first time I had taken a deep breath in forever, maybe. I don't, maybe since I was 2 and a baby. I don't know, right? But it was so life changing. And when I find myself again stressed and tense and tight, I'm like, I bet we're not breathing, are we here? So in the middle of the office, honestly, sometimes in the middle of the grocery store, I just breathe in and giggle it out. Ha ha
I love how she can just do that, like anytime, anywhere. You should have seen her on the show, and I'm like, okay, well, this is going to be a fun one. Because I know something me and her had even discussed is your body doesn't know necessarily if you're fake laughing or you're real laughing. It still does the trick to release those endorphins and get it going. Um, so I like that. So, Dr. Let me ask you then, because you've experienced that too, where it was lightheaded. I have had people that I know, Dr. Grant and I have worked with, we start doing 10 deep belly breaths, and they're so starved and with hypoxia because they're not getting enough oxygen to their brain that they're like, oh my God, I did that, but I almost fell out and hit the floor, and so it's almost like they almost want to tend to stop doing that. So what would you have to say for them if they're worried about that?
I hear you. Sit down. Like, oh my gosh, like be safe. Right.
Right.
It's okay. It's okay if you haven't breathed in a while. Like, you're not alone. I promise. You're
Yeah,
not
but I mean,
alone.
they don't need to stop, right? You keep going
No,
and it
it's
goes, your lightheadedness
settle.
and stuff goes away, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, when I'm like teaching a laughter yoga class, some of them we're sitting and we're on Zoom and everything's fine and we can kind of go for a while. Once we're up and we're standing, we're doing like kind of wilder laughter yoga games. It's a full cardio workout, and so you must match it to where you are and what feels good. Laughter yoga is never supposed to be painful or stressful. It's supposed to meet you where you are. And so if you feel lightheaded, sit down. And then when you're ready, if you feel ready, go ahead and start again. And you can modulate and adjust it so that it fits you for where you are. So you get what you need in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And that the whole thing too, and I've learned breathing can help you get through pain.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Don't know if you've all been there, but either when your massage
Yes.
therapist is digging in one of them knots, and I'm like, or you've had dry needling, they're like, breathe. And as soon as you can force yourself to breathe, it's like the pain just kind of helps dissipate. But I don't know about anybody else, but I have this innate ability to just stop breathing and like try to grin and bear it through the pain. And it's really better if you breathe through it.
Yes. Absolutely.
Maybe.
Maybe? Go ahead, Brian.
There's layers to all of this stuff.
Of course.
And what I'm finding with the breath is that the pattern actually matters a lot less and mechanics matters a lot less.
Okay.
There's specific things like with the DMT squeeze or breathing into the parasympathetic nervous system into trauma, right? So part of the work is I want to take the brakes off. Well, that means I got to empty the suitcase of the past trauma. So there's particular methods of using the shoulders and shallow breathing quickly. The part of this conversation that I find fascinating is twofold. First is the imagination. So it's 90% more effective, I'm finding, if I use the imagination while I'm breathing. So I'm breathing in love. So it doesn't matter what the pattern or the color or the shape is. And in fact, there's such an intelligence in the body. It took me like 2,000 days of breathing in a row to like not try to control the breath and just allow the body's divine breath to make its way out. And then the other part to this conversation is the carbon dioxide, right? So in the laughing yoga, it's never a lack of oxygen.
Yes.
It's the lack of CO2. And the CO2 blood gas acts much like a hormone. And so I find it fascinating to play with the exhale, either through singing, laughing, and with each exhale, to take in less air and to take more space between the breaths and really feel the pulsing. Like if I'm ever really frantic, just drop the breath and start counting the pulses. And then the next one, if that was 3 pulses, the next one's 5, and then 7. So the more space I can feel, it's fascinating to me. So spending a lot of time behind a long gun, the moment of trigger squeeze is also the moment between the heart breaths or the heartbeats. So often with healing, the method to kill is also the method to save. And so I'm finding divinity in between my breaths in the breath work, where I'm breathing in, letting go, and then doing nothing, which is completely different than this human doing experience. Oh wait, we're human beings. I forget that sometimes. But I'm reminded of the breath.
Brian, can I speak to that for a sec? I
Please,
love that.
brother. Yeah, throwing the ball back and forth.
As a guy's been doing martial arts for 40 years, and the last couple of years in the Aido, the Japanese art of drawing the sword, it's so beautiful what you mentioned because it's that genuine exchange of breath work. When you were talking, none of us get to speak from lethality. None of us get to speak from flight or flight in the absolute ultimate life or death situation. We don't know what it's like to squeeze those triggers. We don't know what it's like to be in that situation. That's the difference. Even though I come from a martial art background, it's not the same level of lethality. So the ability for us to get 10 billion, bits of information a second and only process 10 bits of information per second is kind of like I got access to $10 billion, but I only get to pick $10. And I'm like, what's the $10 I'm going to pick? And so for you, and when you get to focus on what's essential, because otherwise you're dead if you don't, I loved what you were saying about the breath work. And I was curious if, just because you study it so much, there's a Wim Hof version
Yes.
focusing on the inhale,
Yeah.
Yes.
I
focusing on.
spent 7 days with him, actually.
Okay, so the
Yeah.
oxygenation and a lot of people getting lightheaded and feeling that.
Yeah.
The opposite of that is an exhale breath work. And I don't know if you've played with that at all.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, the exhale is very much the feminine. Wim Hof's a very masculine way of breathing,
Okay.
and having spent 2 days with him in LA and then another 5 days in the mountains of Oregon, I realized that Wim doesn't teach the Wim Hof method.
After all
Correct.
that,
Yeah, yeah.
eh?
No, no, because the whole point is to be fully present. And I've never met a man that's both fearless and fully present the way that Wim is in the breath. And the method is different every time he does it. And so in learning how to channel and learning how to use some of these Tai Chi Gong techniques, Baba Ji shows up. And sometimes I just let him run my breath for me. I don't know, right? And if I know there's no space for Babaji to take over and actually teach me something in the breath. And so, I'm almost at 2,700 days in a row of watching the breath. And if it's ever mundane, I'm not paying attention. There's always a corner to look at. And so if I get curious with the breath in the ice bath, or if I can get curious in the breath when I haven't had food or water in 72 hours, what is the breath telling me in that? So the idea of introducing the massaji into this whole conversation, what I find in the spiritual world, it's all light and love. No, it's not all light and love. Like there's a fair amount of darkness too that comes up. And so, equal parts light, equal parts dark. What am I learning in the darkness? What am I learning without breath? What am I learning when I'm getting panicky because I haven't had a breath in 3 minutes? What's there at that point? You know? And there's just something really cool about contemplating death, to learning about the appreciation for the life itself. The energy increases. It's really interesting. Um, I don't know if that's relevant to what we're talking about, but that's what I think about in the both parts, the light and the darkness, the masculine and the feminine breath, the taking in the catabolic, the building, and then also destruction, the Shiva and the Shivaya in that.
Yeah. No, it's all relevant, so no worries there. I do have a question for you for me and maybe others that don't know. What is the DMT?
Dimethyltryptophan. It's shortcutted as the God molecule. And so in ayahuasca, in 5-MeO, DMT, Bufo, that's the psychedelic ingredient people typically use to work through trauma and have these out of body near death experiences or on the other side of death experiences. And the body makes these chemicals. Originally, we thought that it came from the lungs. I don't think that's true anymore, but for all intents and purposes, we can produce DMT through breath work and other things as well. That's the only one I really know very well, is a combination of increasing CO2, different breath patterns, and then methods of using tantric squeezes, the triple point, the dantian, the diaphragmatic, and then also the throat locks in order to move energy up to the pineal gland and then send that sexual energy to other places. Nobody understands that the way that the tantrics do.
Nice. I love this because you guys are all like worlds above, worlds ahead of me in this. I love learning so many things, and breath is definitely important because obviously without breath we would not be here. But what is your take on? Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Robert.
I have something small to add because it's a great, but it's wonderful to mention. Well, I don't know. You guys are, being far ahead, but it is important to realize that many people, or most everybody that comes to me, right, for any form of stress, no matter what, they have no clue, in fact, what we're talking about, right? Because
Yes.
they are actually stuck, which is the reason why they come.
Mhm.
So, we do have to break it down in more simpler terms. For instance, just helping them understand what this breath work helps you do is to restore your breath to a natural state again, because of all the stuff you haven't been able to deal with in your life, all the traumas that you maybe suffered is impeding you to breathe normally. And your mind is keeping you from releasing it because of the fear. So if you would end up in a full scale hyperventilation, at best, I say at best, not at worst, at best, you will faint. And the moment you faint, what happens? You're just gonna start breathing again. It's like the body goes, finally, this guy's knocked out. Now I can do what I was meant to be doing, right? I've helped a lot of people in going in through panic attacks in airplanes, in the gym, because like they're like working out, and on that exhale, the body throws up all that garbage that they've been suppressing for so long, and they go into a full-fledged hyperventilation, and they go into a full body cramp, and everybody's like, yeah, it's like a tetany, and everybody's screaming, ambulance, ambulance. I'm like, no, 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 no. And I stand in, uh, in front of the guy, and he's on the floor, on top of the guy, and I'm like, can I help you, buddy? Yeah, yeah, please do what you can. I said, all right, but you have to give me 1 hour of your time. Right? 1 hour of your time. I counted three. I said, on three, breathe with me. And on the exhale, it's like the dam breaks and all their emotions are just released. Within like several breaths, they're like crying and they're looking at me like, what did you do? And I didn't do anything. I'm just helping you open up the valve that has been shut for so long. It's just that we're not aware of it.
Mhm. And there's an incredible phenomenon that happens. So when I went to Catholic school at 5 and 6 years old, I hated school. I hated it. And when I was 6, I didn't understand why. But when I was going through a landmark, I got it. And so an interesting thing happens in the exhale. 70% of our toxins leave the body through the breath. That's why we use breathalyzers to measure ethyl alcohol being metabolized. But also the neuropeptides from trauma come out in the exhale.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
that's what I hear in your story, Robert, helping this guy finally release these emotions that have been trapped in the myofascial tissue or in the other organs, and saving medical emergencies, through cancer and other emotionally based illnesses and diseases.
Can I throw out a crazy story in my world just to put it into this context to see if this still
Who says,
resonates?
who says no to that question? Anybody ever say no to that?
No.
No, I'm not into that,
No,
man.
me too.
So after
Next
30
time. Next time.
we'll save that story. So after like 30 years of doing this and about 15,000 people coming through my hands, one guy came to me with his neck sideways and said, I've been like this for the last 20 years. I've gone to every doctor, every specialist. We've never been able to figure this out. There's nothing that's been done. There's surgically and medically nothing wrong with me whatsoever. So go. And I'm like, okay. And this is not something normal for me, but back in the day, I used to have some fun. I did some regression hypnotherapy. And when we went back 2 or 3 different lifetimes, first couple didn't really have any bearing on this, but about 3 or 4 lifetimes back, he was a cattle rustler. He stole cows in the Wild West. And they caught him and they hung him, and he never forgave himself. And when we went through that experience and energetically he was able to release it on an emotional level, physically he opened his eyes, went crack, sounded like a freaking shotgun.
Huh?
And that was the first time it cracked in 20 years. And he stood up and was like, God bless you, I'm out. And that was it. And I'm never.
Yeah.
So it's very, very different when we can start playing with that. And it's not about us, our belief systems, and whether you were raised to believe something like that exists. It's about our clients. And if they believe something like that exists and you have to go down that rabbit hole, if that's what helps them and saves them, run. You know, we got to be selfless in this and be that way to help serve them.
Oof.
Yeah.
Tan, I love that story.
Yeah.
And you triggered a story for me, if I may. And I think this is relevant
Go ahead.
in the breath practice because I see this often. Robert, probably you do too. In teaching the breath, the mechanics of breathing is pretty straightforward, right? Put a hand on the belly, put a hand on the back of the diaphragm, and then, feel the hands separate from the spine, or maybe dig the thumbs into the belly button. Okay, and if that doesn't work, have them lay down, and I'll put a cell phone on the belly. Now, the cue is this: raise the cell phone with your breath. And if they can't do that, it's not a physiological problem; it's an emotional thing.
Yeah.
And so, in the shamanic world, those are the entities in the shadows, and the reason that people, use plant medicines. And in the Western medical world, those are just neuroses; they're fears. And so, if you're listening to this, you can't breathe into your belly, there's something stuck. It's not your fault. It's time to let it go.
Yeah.
Right? That's some junk in the trunk. You don't have to carry it anymore. There's all kinds of ways to say thank you very much. You are not needed here anymore. This is not a request. I just, I was working with a guy. We were 5 minutes into our call, and I was like, "How come you can't breathe into your belly?" And so, one of my favorite ways of exhaling is Mongolian throat singing. Be like, it's fourth generation medicine is sound. And so sound, light, just a different octave. And he immediately went back to World War II when he drowned on a German submarine. And he came back and wanted to know, did my men love me? Was I a good leader? And I was like, hey, can you do me a favor? Take a deep breath in. And he found his breath. And he called me a week later and he said, thank you for helping me find my voice. I was born premature. I never took a deep breath ever in my life. And because this past life story kept him stuck, he then found his breath and he found his voice. And his sales career really took off. Really cool. Cool to see that.
Wow.
5 minutes. It doesn't take long. It can be easy.
Wow. That is incredible.
Okay. I've got one thing to add.
Go ahead. Add that. And then I think we should, since we're on this, I think we should go in if each of you can share a different technique or a tip, something somebody can do to start improving their breath and to unblock that. So go ahead, Robert.
Or raise their energy when it comes
or raise their
down
energy.
to that again. But it's interesting because I think you mentioned birth, right? That's also another very important aspect to take into consideration, because sometimes you're so low on energy and you don't even know that it can come from your birth. And my oldest son, he's 26, he's a perfect example. On every single contraction, his mom had to throw up. Think about this. The energy was always going up instead of going down, helping him, come into the world. And he came out exhausted. And this boy just doesn't have any energy whatsoever. He's so low on energy. So I had to wait. I really had to wait till he was old enough to start grasping, what was going on, and to get him motivated to maybe try some breathwork sessions. And you know how I caught him? Because everything that I stood for was like taboo. It's just bullshit. Everything you're telling me, it's just nonsense. I don't believe in coincidence. Anyway, he became a free runner. And so I tricked him. I said, you know what? If you do a breathwork session I can guarantee you will improve your free running by 60%. And that caught that caught his attention. So, but sometimes we don't know it, that it's just because our limbic imprinting, or think of all the children whose moms were anesthetized during birth. The anesthesia hits the baby through the placenta, and they come into the world drugged. You know, so they're just generally low on energy, and they have no clue why. And just several breathwork sessions helps them, overcome that and raise their energy again.
Definitely a good point. Dr. Grant, do you want to add to the conversation there?
I had a client, Laura. He had sleep apnea, and doctor recommended CPAP to not to help him to die during sleep because that's forced oxygen in his nose. And then I asked him, "Can you just breathe?" And it was like 99% from the chest, very shallow breather. So I told him, "Can you breathe from the belly instead of from the chest?" He had difficulty with that. So I
Yeah.
told him to lie down and just relax. I changed him from the sympathetic fight, flight, fright, and freeze to parasympathetic rest, digest, and relax and deep breathe and laugh. Like what I was going to send him to laughter yoga, like what Dr. Erica was saying, because that will actually, reverse his CPAP. So anyway, he learned how to do this 10 belly breath every hour. And I asked him, "How much water do you drink?" He said, "About a glass or 2 glasses per day." I said, "What else? What other liquids do you drink?" He said, "Coffee, alcohol, and soda." I said, "Okay, so you have problem now with not just with O2, you have problem with H2O." He said, "What's H2O?" I said, "Water." He said, "I don't like water. I like to drink diet soda." So anyway, I have to explain to him that all of this stuff contribute to his CPAP situation and shallow breathing and tiredness and snoring at night. He started the 10 belly breath. Guess what? 30 days, no CPAP, no snoring, and absolutely no chronic fatigue. And he start to do this. So I told him it's simply you need more O2, more H2O, and more focus on your breathing. It's a common sense, which is so uncommon for 90%, 95% of my 40,000 clients.
Nice.
I
Dr. Erica?
love it. Oh, it's so thank you, right? Thank you. Yeah, I like that we're telling client stories because I have one too.
Go
Right?
ahead.
Like they're I am life coach trained and I have a PhD in developmental psychology. And so I don't know, we do a lot of stuff and I do laughter yoga. So I don't know, right? I show up to a session just where are we? What's awful? What's wonderful? What should we do? Right? And a lot of times the session will go, I've got a pain and I don't know why I'm feeling sad and scared or fearful. So we go that way. And I remember one lady came, she's like, I am feeling sad and I'm feeling fearful. I don't have any more tears left to cry. And I said, okay, would you rather play instead? And she said, what? And I was like, we can get the same place by playing around if you wanna. And she said, yes, please. So then we did a little bit of giggling and we did a little bit of like creative writing where you cross your hands over so you activate both sides of your brain and we just played and we did some silly things and I asked her what she liked to do when she was a kid and I showed her the toys that live on my desk, right? And she showed me what lived on her desk. And there's something about playing in a not like I have to go swing on the swing, although you want to go swing, have a great time, right? Please, it's wonderful. But also, playing as a grown up can just be creativity and creation. And doing just a little bit of that was enough for her to be like, oh, wait a minute. Now I understand. And that was the breakthrough she needed. Rather than the tears, we used giggles and we got to the same place. And that for me was one of the most memorable sessions that we've had together. And the more I do those, the easier it is and the faster we get there. So I'm constantly telling people just keep playing whatever play looks like for you because it's different for all of us.
Dr. Erica, I love that. Everybody show the toys on your desk. This is what's on
Yes,
mine.
please. Show and tell. Who is that? Who do we
It's a little samurai dude right about to mess you up.
Oh, I see
Ah,
it.
See?
Oh, you have
I'm
a
trying
soccer
to something.
ball.
Show me what's on your desk, everybody. Let's
I
go.
had mine near here. Mine's not, but yeah.
You're
I'm
a
like
little Lego
I'm
guy
like
too.
the true warrior poet. I've got my lock blade knife and I have my fountain pen.
Oh, look at this.
Neat.
I
Oh
love show
yeah,
and tell. This is
right?
the
All
best.
this kind of cool stuff. Yes, well done.
I'm still painting my house.
Good hit balls. Dr. Erica, can you jump in your time machine to 2011 and whisper in my ear, the work can be play? That would have been awesome.
I mean, I bet I probably could. People tell me that you can, so I'll work on it. No problem.
Mine's in the shop right now. Once it's fixed, though, I'll get my teleporter up.
Sounds perfect.
Listen,
And I love that too. I would rather laugh my way to health than all the other
Yeah.
stuff. But I know we
yeah.
have to face other stuff too, but I love the laughter route.
Listen, I
Yes,
used to be
place is
so
wrong.
serious. I used to be so serious years ago. You wouldn't even have gotten me to laugh or let alone giggle.
My sacred geometry teacher, Dr. Robert Grant, he shared that the path to suffering is taking seriously what the gods had intended to be fun. Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh,
that's what I
wow.
hear, Dr. Erica, when you share.
Dr.
Yeah.
Erica, you know about that famous Japanese festival that happens every year, the Festival of Laughter?
I do. I do. I want
How
to go so
crazy
bad.
How crazy is that? We're going to put a whole bunch of people in a room. One person's just going to start laughing, and damn it, 12 hours from now, we're going to stop. And I'm like, that's crazy. It's so cool. Because you didn't need to say anything funny. It's so contagious. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's just like yawning, but I'd rather have the laughing contagious. But it reminds me of a video I saw on. It's one of those videos about starting a movement. Where everybody's like on this hillside, like all serious, and you got one guy up there, and he just starts. And everybody like just look at him. But then a second one joins in, and then a third, and then next thing you know, everybody's just acting a fool and dancing around and just releasing all kinds of energy and having a good old time. It's not that you're looked at. It's just take someone to start it, right?
Mhm.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Laura, I have a question for you.
Yes.
If you give somebody a choice between laughter, breath work to feel much better, to feel happier, versus taking Prozac, amitriptyline, or Xanax, which one would they choose?
Mushrooms.
I would take the laughter and breath work. I'm sorry. Most definitely. So, but all of this, right, takes intention. You have to be intentional about it.
Yes.
So, whether you want to call it intention or intuition, um, how would you say intention shapes our experiences and our outcomes in life?
Lifestyle. Lifestyle habits, it create intentions, it create longevity. Everybody should live to the age of 110, 111 if they actually have some oxygen, H2O, and positive attitude, positive mind, PMA, positive mental attitude. It's all about lifestyle habits. Nothing can fix poor lifestyle. Not a single drug, not a single supplements or a single herb can fix poor lifestyle. We have to go back to intention and lifestyle habits. Dr. Erica, you agree with me?
Oh, I do, right? Because I will intellectually understand something, right? Like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. And then I will continue on with my life and completely forgot the thing, right?
Habits.
So
Habits.
I need a routine. I need to know, right? And I will sometimes wake up and I'm having a fine time and then something that feels dramatic has happened and I
Yeah.
need to intentionally reset. So I intentionally go to the bathroom mirror where we have written down things like I am strong, I am capable, just to remind myself that I am. Not to do like a fake affirmation thing, just like, oh, that's right. And I put on my playlist of 3 songs. It makes me feel like I can do anything because I can, in those moments, trust other people's words and like, that's right, I can be a champion. I can do this. I can be powerful. And sometimes I need a neurochemical reset that I
Yes.
can't seem to drudge up myself, like through just wanting it. But
Yes.
doing the thing and doing it over and over again, I can just bypass my want to do it and my motivation. I can rely on the myelin on my neurons, right? Like that I can do, that I can trust in. Just like I remember to blink all the times, I can also teach myself that I can feel good about myself too. So
Yes.
yes, thank you.
Nice. Robert?
Well, uh, intent actually directs your energy.
Yeah.
Without intention, we become inert.
Yeah.
So it's important to direct your energy, purposefully. Very important. And many people aren't clear about their intentions. And so they create situations that they actually didn't want to. I mean, A lot of times, I used to be a person that over and over and over again, I'd end up in situations and I'd ask myself, how did I get into this situation again? Because I never directed my intention in a purposeful way.
Yes.
So intention is everything.
Yes.
Very good,
Absolutely.
very good point. Brian?
Go back to my sales career. Ambition born of lack births more lack, right? So why am I out in the sunlight? Is it because I don't want to get cancer? So if my intention is not getting cancer, I'm actually increasing the probability of getting cancer because that's the way that the body hears the language of that, right? So what if I'm out in the sunlight or I'm dry fasting or using frequency medicine to say thank you? I'm so happy and grateful as I allow for even more health optimization, more abundance, more prosperity, more fun, more play. So I think intention and gratitude um, go hand in hand. And the secret sauce that I'm finding with invincibility is like when it like really sucks, if I can shift that into how can I love this too? Now I'm absolutely untouchable. Now everything serves my mission and my remembrance. So I'm going to add another word, gratitude to the intention.
Yep, there you go. I like that. Natan?
I believe, because I'm not good at math, so I'll do like little word examples where I'll go one word equals another word, and we'll pretend that's math. So in my world,
You're,
um,
you're, you're low again. Can you, yeah,
yeah,
there you go. Sorry, you keep fading there.
let me see if that helps. I'm gonna unplug it and plug it in. Yes, better.
Okay, yep, go ahead. Go.
Woohoo! So if we look at progress equals happiness, and when you have people that come to you and go, I've got every accolade you can imagine and every legitimate reason to be happy, but for some reason I don't have it. I got this daily checklist that I wake up and read every morning, and I'm like, how's that working? And they're like, it's not. I'm like, quit that. Um, the reason that you're not happy is because you haven't bitten off more than you can chew and then found a way to chew it. And if you haven't hit that obstacle and then found a way to overcome it recently, whenever the last time you did, that was the last time you were happy. Abundance equals gratitude. If you literally count your blessings, you, my goodness, will feel insanely abundant no matter how much or how little you have. So, in the concept of setting intention, I look at intent plus intensity equals productivity. And my intent is my intention and my desire. My intensity is my focus. And my productivity is my energy. And
Nice.
that's all the math that I have.
I like that math. That is very good math. I,
Show up.
as I say, I think everybody would agree. I like that, and I always love about because you are what you put your mind to, right? So instead of having all the bad stuff, the negative stuff, make it intentional, like you said. I always called it celebrating like the little wins and not beating yourself up about what you didn't do, right? So at least when you do that, then yeah, you raise your vibration, you raise your energy. Because if you're going to constantly criticize yourself and put yourself down, then you've just lowered all of that, and it.
Well, you also didn't set the fertile ground for yourself to know what success looks and feels like. And if you didn't do that ahead of time, then you have no clue what to step into. So when we work with Olympians and we do the visualization of you on stage winning first place, that's not for fun. That's every single freaking Olympian in every single sport forever for a reason.
Yes.
Because I need my body to manifest what success looks like before it ever freaking happens. And then it knows what it's supposed to look like. It's you, it's internal, it's never external. So it
Yes.
always has to come from within to out.
Yes. Mindset. It's all mindset.
It's like
Talking,
gravity.
yeah. Talking about intention, is anybody watching the World Championships skating?
No.
No?
No.
It's unbelievable, but it's
Okay, now I'm really
unbelievable.
curious.
What kind of skating?
It's speed skating and distance skating. And
Oh,
Stoltz, an American, he is just amazing, really amazing. And he's got some incredible competitors. But because if you're talking about intention, I mean, you can't go onto this, and think you're going to win a 500 meters sprint if you don't have the intention of winning, you know.
Yeah.
So there, they have to really hone
Um,
that
there was a
skill.
book. There was a book I read when I was running my insurance brokerage. It was called "Golf is Not a Game of Perfect," and made the point that Phil Nicholson he goes into a golf tournament knowing he's going to win.
Hmm.
Does that mean he's going to win the tournament? It doesn't mean that, but he's in the running. If I show up to that same golf tournament and I don't know that I can win, I've already lost before I
Yeah,
hit the golf ball a single time.
yeah, yeah,
Yep.
I like
Definitely.
that because logically speaking, if anyone can do the math, what's a perfect game of? You can do perfect games in bowling, right? What's bowling? Perfect 300. Is
Hmm.
it done? Possible? Yes. What's perfect in golf? Brian? 18. It's a hole in one,
Well,
18.
well, that's true. I said I had to think about that one. I don't do golf much,
It's
but
the only possible way to be perfect in golf. It's impossible. Some things leave it possible. Some are like, good luck with that.
That hurts my brain in a great way. Thank you for that.
You're an
okay.
F1 driver. You lose more races than you win, and yet you're still the best driver in the world.
Oh yeah, I was watching Roger Federer, and he went back and he,
yeah.
he gave a commencement speech. I forget which university, and he's like, I went back and I looked at the matches that I won that made a difference. I only won by a point or two, and so that
Yeah.
means for him to be best in the world, he only won 54% of the points.
Yeah,
It's that close.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Amazing,
The
amazing.
Razor's Edge is a book about this, and a modern day. I like looking at mountaineering, and so Purge, he's the police special forces guy that climbed the 14 peaks in Nepal, and he did that in 7 months instead of 7 years. That's equivalent to running a marathon in 10 minutes,
Oh,
and
wow.
it's called Project Possible. And it's incredible watching these stories. And there's a scene, two things in there. His weather windows is closing, and they've got 2 weeks left. And he said, when doing these challenges, what I learned working with the special boat service, so that's equivalent to our Delta Four or our DevGru SEAL Team 6 here in England. He said when you're effed, you're only 45% of the way effed, right? So there's still 55% less. And then the other thing that comes to mind in the scenario with that, um, China wasn't going to let him climb the last 14 peaks. Meanwhile, his mom's dying, and he took to social media. And when it was him versus China, he didn't matter. But when all of these people that were counting on his
Mm.
example of hope and lighthousing, uh, it changed their decision. And so, one man's action really doesn't matter until it does. And so who can I be the light to today? To go back to Natan's initial light analogy, it doesn't take very much.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with Brian there because when I tell my clients do the 10 belly breath every hour or do drink 3 liters of water per day, I hear the word impossible. I tell them just put the apostrophe I am possible. Just put a little bit of apostrophe there. And once it's I am possible, they can actually manage to drink the water by putting the bottle of water or the glass of water beside them and intentionally with a mindset doing the 10 belly breath as Brian was saying, nothing is impossible. Everything is I am possible. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm following your instructions, Dr. Grant, as you see.
We all got them. We
that's
all got
actually
'em.
one of my favorite things in this, Doctor Erica. I wonder if with your clients, I do this with the Mongolian throat singing to actually tune water to the frequency of love or joy or gratitude or whatever
Oh,
the
yeah.
intention is.
Yeah.
That's fourth gen medicine. So I wonder if you have your clients laugh into the bottles of water that they're
You should.
drinking and then drinking it. I wonder what would happen.
Oh, me too.
Actually,
We're gonna
you know
find
what?
out.
Oh, I love when I can be like,
All
hey, do
right,
you know this
let's go.
experiment for me? That would be great.
They will.
You know what, Brian?
Awesome.
We actually do this by imprinting the frequency of love and all of this using this
Oh yeah.
wonderful AO virtual scan. We can imprint this frequency in the bottle of water and make them drink it without even knowing unconsciously. They just crave the water and they do the belly breathing by imprinting. Exactly. The frequency can be imprinted there and it can be, we've been doing it for years now. Thank you for
Yeah.
So now they're all giggling next to you in bed.
We'll leave that one alone. It reminds me, I did have a wonderful guest. She does energy work with water and about the water molecules in your body. But unfortunately, she is in Vietnam right now. She's a digital nomad. So this was not a good time for her. But I know she would have a lot to say. We are winding down here. We're down in like our last 15 minutes. So each of you, I know you each are about self healing and you have a different approach. So please, we'll start with Dr. Grant. Just tell us what it is for self healing and how you work with people in self healing, and we'll just go around so people know who they can connect with.
I use the letter L. Love, learn, laugh, let go, and leave a legacy.
Wow.
Nice.
As the kids would say, that's lit.
That's what somebody's up on today's jargon. Okay. Dr. Erica.
Yeah, I am. I often support people who are experiencing burnout, or what we've been talked about before, like too much seriousness, and they recognize that that's not serving them. So I support people through traditional coaching, laughter yoga classes, and mostly by focusing on three pillars. One is to recharge, especially if you're experiencing burnout actively. One is to really tap into your inner power, and the third is finding time to thrive, which is where you allow for playfulness and creativity and not just make space for it, but make it an intentional choice because that's going to just change the trajectory of where you're going.
Nice. Robert.
I'll do the whole L shebang. Just to simplify matters. And leave a legacy.
Yes.
Well, you are man a life source. So how do you add
Well, exactly. I really want to bring people back to source. That's where all the power lies. But, you know, I can get some people very angry when I say, you can heal anything. Yeah, well, it's easy for you to say. I have a family member, that died of cancer, but, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, right, that it is possible to heal anything. If I wouldn't have that mindset, I've healed myself just because I was stubborn, really stubborn to go to a doctor. I've had very many negative experiences with doctors. I made peace and I reconciled. However, I healed myself of things I don't even want to mention uh, because I just believed it was possible. And I always said, body, I'm going to step out of the way and I will support it any way I can through the AO scan, supplements if necessary. I'll support the body, but I need to change my mind about it. The mindset is a large part of healing. I've known many surgeons that have worked with me as well, and they say, yeah, we can do surgical work. That's great. That's only 20% of the work. But the other 80% is all about the patient themselves.
Yeah. Exactly.
nice.
So
Brian?
I work
Sorry.
with them on the mindset.
Good. Brian?
Yeah, I'm gonna see your mindset and raise you to valor. Valor for me is the intersection of courage plus open heartedness, especially with the masculine. I'm being called in a really powerful way to lead men leaders back to their heart. And so, what I find, especially with leaders, business owners, entrepreneurs, it's never ability. the people that I work with, it's never a lack of ability; it's a lack of courage. Stepping into that, I don't mean just courage; I mean valor, both.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and so, what we focus on is in these crises moments in Mandarin, it's both chaos and opportunity. I help our men find opportunity when other people are running for cover to create these finest hour moments. And I see that needed right now as we shift from 3D to 5D, and we shift from rise and grind culture to allowing power and synchronicity and syntropy to create new ecosystems and those things. So I guess I'm the valor expert, using all means necessary, both with breath, language, energy, and visualization to do that.
Brian,
Wonderful.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
In your background, there says dance, and you never even talked about dance. Dance with
Dance with
your.
your fears.
I thought I saw you on Dancing with the Stars, Brian. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I thought so.
literally dancing with nebulas and star clusters, and
I
yeah.
say dancing and music has always been my vibration, energy, and happy place. So yes, that's
So
another good vibration and energy.
it is impossible to enslave a people who are both laughing, dancing, and singing.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I get lost in my own little world. It's one of my happy places. It's just,
Everybody notice Laura's vibration as she's dancing? High vibes, save lives.
I muted out my A word so she won't chime in, but otherwise, it's like, I even tell people when I go to donate plasma twice a week, I'm like, I got everything from 50s and 60s to hard rock, metal, country, Eminem, 50 Cent, you name it. It's in here. I just go to whatever's a blood pumping, and I sit there and have a good old time.
It's your birthday.
What's my birthday?
I'm just saying 50 Cent.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yep.
I'm trying to see if you're really a 50 Cent fan.
Oh no. Yeah. In the club. Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
club.
In the club. Natan.
I love that. Oh my goodness. So I want to meet everybody individually, one on one, and have some fun. The easiest way to look at this was for me personally and professionally. Personally, as an elite energy coach for the last 30 years, I play at the intersection between time and energy. And most of us know that you can't get more time. But even if I magically gave you more time, what's the point if you didn't have any energy?
Yeah.
So, where we get to play with the people that are at 9 out of 10, personally and professionally, that are just curious what 9.1, 9.2 looks like, because I believe when you hit 10, the good Lord takes you back. So, you want to get close, but maybe not so close. So, don't go perfect, okay? Just get close, but you don't go perfect. Get close. And in that capacity, I'm able to play with people as an elite energy coach, working with mental, physical, emotional drills that I learned with Olympians over decades. I'm able to give them that on a smaller scale if they wanted to come to the personal momentum retreat that I have every month, a smaller scale if they wanted to join our Frequency of Abundance group. I do daily broadcasts. We're on season 4. I'd love to have each of you as a guest. And the topics that we talk about, season 1 was personal development, inner. Season 2 was communication, relationships. Season 3 was online business fundamentals. Season 4, we're in abundance. So anything that gets to speak to that, that's the blessings on that side. And on the professional side, we have Allura Creative Agency, the only not-for-profit public relations house in the world. So we hunt whales. If you're looking for C-suite executive leader, owner, founders, we blow a dog whistle to them specifically. And those are the two worlds that I play in.
Awesome. Thank you. So, real quick, each one, since this is all about self healing, what message for self healing do you want to leave the audience with, Dr. Grant?
Deep breathe, exercise, go to bed by 10 p.m., and laugh as much as you can. LOL, laugh out loud, and exercise. And then after this, you're going to be living till age 121. Forget about 101, 121 and beyond. Guaranteed.
Dr. Erica?
I think the message is if taking life really seriously is working for you, great. And if it's not, that's okay. Try play.
Gotcha. Robert?
Simplify your life. Express your joy. Find gratitude in the simple things, and that will expand your whole world.
Nice. Brian?
You already know the answers to how to thrive. I can't teach you anything. All I can do is help you remember and help you clear out the suitcase of crap that you're lugging around. Sunlight, grounding, dry fasting, frequency medicine, and visualization. There's nothing we can't do with those four tools. Those four supplements that you can't put in a capsule.
Right.
Correct.
And Natan?
Oh, that's so beautiful. I love what everybody's been saying all the way through. I'll definitely jump in there and echo what I'd said earlier with abundance equals gratitude. That if we genuinely wanted to come in from a place and count our blessings and feel so incredibly abundant, that tide is going to raise all boats. You're going to show other people that they can feel that too. They're going to go, "Why are you smiling? What the heck are you so happy about?" And you're going to be contagious in that beautifully positive way.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, I want to thank everybody for taking the time out today and sharing all of your knowledge, your nuggets of wisdom there, and experiences. I loved them all. I want to let everybody know that everyone that is on this panel, their information will be in the description. So please reach out to them and connect with them. As you can see, we're a fun group. We love to help you on your journey of self healing. So thank you, everyone, for joining us, and we will catch you on our next special.
Blessings.